Welcome back. This is part 3 of What If Naruto is an Uchiha. If you've not seen the part 2 or part 1, link in the description. No. The recap. Last episode, Mizuki attempted to steal the scroll of sealing as normal as a genin or a academy student would take it. Naruto's knocked out the academy student and he's going towards to take out Mizuki next. Okay. So, let's get straight into it. Naruto would tuck his torso, completely avoiding the shuriken, as he looked Mizuki directly into the eyes. Using a genjutsu, Mizuki would be stunned. As this gave Naruto time to pull his katana out and stab Mizuki straight in his solar plexus. As he'd stab his blade up, it would go straight through his esophagus, as it would kill him instantly, as well as going through his heart. Naruto would spend the rest of the time reading the Scroll of Sealing, as he'd see two jutsu he liked. These jutsu were the Flying Thunder God and the Multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto would hear Iruka, as he'd already wrote down the jutsu he'd want to learn. He'd close the scroll. He'd then vanish, nowhere to be seen. As he'd appear before Hiruzen would ask Naruto, "Why do you have the Scroll of Sealing?" He'd say in a loud manner. Naruto would respond quickly, as he'd then say, "Oh, hold up. I just scrolled down like really far into my script." He'd then say, "Lord Third, Mizuki Sensei told an academy student to take the scroll. So I helped the kid and went ahead and killed Mizuki." He'd say in a rather calm manner. Rather calm. Hiruzen would sigh as he'd ask where Mizuki's body was. Naruto would point to the forest as he'd hand Hiruzen the scroll. "Naruto, you are dismissed," Hiruzen would say calmly, as he had eventually calmed down from his confused demeanor. Naruto would train hard for the next 2 months, as he'd be assigned a Genin team. He'd be assigned to a Genin team. He didn't try and prank Kakashi, as he's more mature. Kakashi would walk in, as he'd look around. And then he'd say, "You were quite boring." Kakashi said blankly. Naruto and Sasuke would ignore this statement, but Sakura would get a bit angry look on her face. They would head to the roof, as they would say their goals. Sasuke's goal would be to kill a certain someone. Sakura's goal would be to marry a certain someone. Naruto's goal was to obtain world peace, no matter what the cost was. Kakashi would think, "Good goal for a Genin. Should have expected this from me, Minato Sensei." One day, Naruto would be training out of nowhere. Chains would come out of his waist, as he could fully control them. As they would wrap around the log, Naruto would be amazed. El Ambu would be watching him. Then they would report to Danzo. The next day, Naruto would skip breakfast, as he'd head to the training grounds. They would wait for over an hour, as Kakashi would finally arrive. I don't know if I said they skipped 2 months, I meant like a day. I'm not too sure if I said that. He'd explain the bell test as they would start. Naruto would have activated his 3 Tomoe Sharingan as he dashed at Kakashi, blade in hand. Kakashi would soon realize he needs to get serious as he'd put his book away. As he'd pull out a kunai, they would clash. Kakashi would kick Naruto, sweeping his feet as he'd rush his chest, sending him flying into the lake. Naruto would poof as Kakashi would look up. He'd see a Naruto with a sword coming straight down on top of his head. He could barely move with his shoulder being cut a bit. With the blade... Wait, hold on. I keep scrolling down too far. Okay, so afterwards, Naruto would retreat to a tree. He'd meet with Sasuke, as he'd say to Sasuke, "We have to use teamwork to beat him." Sasuke would scoff as he jumped down, getting into a taijutsu fight with Kakashi. There would go two cannon, their little fight. As he'd be stuck in the ground, Naruto would jump down as he'd make 20 shadow clones, a little more than he wanted. As they dash at Kakashi, Kakashi would slam his fists into the clone. Before spinning, in a motion he'd poof all the clones once again, as he'd get sprung on by a Naruto wielding a blade. Naruto would slam his blade into Kakashi's shoulder, as he'd swipe the bells. You pass, Kakashi would say, as they used teamwork and got the bells. Your teamwork needs improvement, Kakashi would say, pulling the sword from his shoulder. I guess you're right, Kakashi-sensei. Naruto would say, calm, as always, 2 weeks would pass as Naruto and Sasuke would ask Lord Third for a C-rank mission. Since they were both mega prodigies, he'd agree. Tazuna would walk in, as he wasn't able to say anything about Naruto and Sasuke or Sakura. I'm going to leave this part here. The videos will be a bit shorter. Well, not a bit shorter, because they've been pretty short. So, the next few days, just because I start school in 2 days. So I've been doing online, so it's kind of hard to consistently upload. As always, I hope you enjoyed. Have a good day. If you can, try to get this video to 8 likes. Share with your friends.